Now, if you're like me, I bet you're involved in cryptocurrencies because you want to secure your financial future. Take a look at Tokenmetrics. Their AI and their team of experts will help you find under-the-radar altcoins that you can invest in order to maximize your gains. Get a 10% discount using my code. You also can get a week's trial for a handful of dollars. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Link in the description below.
You said something in a podcast last week, how you could put your Bitcoin in a hardware wallet and take it across a border or something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need to do that.
No.
Because you can just memorize a 12-seed passphrase.
Yep.
And then use that to access your Bitcoins on some using, a wallet like Atomic Dex,
yep,
or Exodus or Atomic Wallet or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even have to have that on the computer when you cross the border.
Yes,
so your
right.
computer's clean, your mobile phone's clean.
Yep. You can, and if you need to, you can encrypt that. You can figure out a way to encrypt that seed into a book you carry across the border. No one's going to stop you from taking a John Grisham novel across the border, and they're going to see little marks where you highlighted certain words. Like, yep. Really? I mean, come on. There's so many ways of remembering that, of securing that passphrase that you never have to worry about it again.
There are wallets, some hardware wallets coming out now, like the Apollo wallet, OPOL.io, which uses the kind of secure elements that you find in credit cards and debit cards, which is more so than Ledger and any of the other hardware wallets.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to choose your own passphrase.
Oh my.
So then I don't even need to write the 12-seed phrase down. I just need a clue to it.
Right. Exactly.
And it can be a clue that my wife knows, or my brother knows, or my sister-in-law, and so on, right? So they just need to know the clue. And the answer to the clue. We write the clue down.
That's exactly right, and that in and of itself is fascinating. Random word passphrases are still the best, because we're like memorizing a sentence from a favorite novel or something along those lines, which is the first thing that popped into my head. It's still easily done because that's terrible, right? So that's not secure.
Lines from a song, don't do that.
No, not secure at all. They can run that. They can run those things. But again, then you have to ask yourself the question of why would they be coming after you? And the other thing to think about that I've been thinking about very, very seriously when we start getting into stock to flow arguments for Bitcoin, and now that we're into the fourth halving and what that means, right? The 4 phases of Bitcoin to this point, interesting curiosity to what is this thing, to an really early adoption to cross-border speculative investment, to now we're into what I think is the store value phase of Bitcoin, where now it's taking on store value properties, right? Because it's been proven through 12 years, and they still haven't hacked SHA-256, and Tether hasn't created the Bitcoin singularity. I read another dumb article from some overly educated shithead the other day, last night, that said, going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of words, and I'll link to that because it's one of the dumbest freaking things I've ever read in my entire life. But whatever. Here we are. People, and none of that has happened, and here we are today. We're into the store value. What's interesting about all of this is that the addressable market of Bitcoin. We start getting back into like market guy speak right now. I'm speaking to the hedge fund managers in the room, all 5 or 6 of them. You guys understand that you went from like 20 people, and I was one of them back in 2010, to 1,000 people, to 1 million, to 20 million people in stage 3, and now we're into the potential for 250 to 300 million people. Now, let me ask you a question. Talking about all this really hardcore privacy, you got an addressable market of 250 million people. How in the hell is the IRS going to track down enough people and police that many people to get them to hand over and beat them up for their paper wallets and their private passphrases? They're not. The time value on that is so high that it's ridiculous. And that's the big point here, is that, as we said earlier with anonymity, right, that the larger the anonymity pool, accrues more anonymity to the transactions on a blockchain. Well, more people using cryptocurrencies, it confers more resistance to regulatory attack, because the regulators are overwhelmed and they don't know which mold to whack. This is the thing everybody needs to get over. And this is the big thing that people like Peter Schiff, and I'm going to call them out, Mike Shedlock and Martin Armstrong and all the rest of them, don't get about this. They don't understand this, and they need to get it. And they need to stop telling people the wrong things, because you're keeping quote unquote the normies from getting into Bitcoin, when the normies can protect themselves and protect each other with Bitcoin by making more normies with Bitcoin on their balance sheets. It's crazy. It's just dumb to me, and it makes me crazy. It makes me angry to listen to really smart people act really dumb because they are just going to talk their book because their egos are on the line. And sorry, but my ego's not on the line here.
No, I don't understand that. And Bitcoin is built on the BitTorrent technology. It's a development of that, and all the hundreds and millions of dollars that Hollywood and Bollywood and China and whoever have spent trying to stop BitTorrent, they just haven't been able to.
No. If you don't like Bitcoin, then you don't like Then I have two words for you: Pirate Bay. They can't stop the Pirate Bay, for Christ's sake.
No.
And if they have stopped the Pirate Bay to your personal house, then go to 1337.x.to and it works like a champ. Just tunnel into a VPN, a cheap free VPN on something like Opera, and everything works. I mean, forget using a real VPN. Just like Opera browser has a VPN built in. It's not a particularly good one, and it works like a champ. And everything happens. And are you kidding me? This is the level of idiocy that you're dealing with. Over on government. Never assume that these people are all powerful, because they're not. They may be the smartest people in the room at times, but they're not smarter than the room, and they're certainly not smarter than the ones who are building all these blockchains. And certainly they're not smarter than the collective intelligence of the people now behind these private blockchains, which again, the addressable market is now in the millions of people, not hundreds, not thousands, not tens, millions. Then what do you do? They lose is what happens. All they can do is start a war at that point, which is a different discussion for a different day. So.
Yeah, and just as Parler and Rumble have exploded with Twitter's and Facebook's and YouTube's increasing censorship, with the threat of UBI, central bank-controlled digital currencies, then you're going to have a move into private-based cryptocurrencies, so people can escape that.
Yeah, they're going to have to, and the tipping systems are going to have to become private. I mean, something like Brave is really, really good for proving or pointing us in the right direction, like Brave and Minds and all these nascent ideas. And I think Brave is a very good way to get an on-ramp to the cryptocurrency world. Because for the normies at this point, certainly here in the United States, you're going to be tracked on the on-ramp, right? You put $5,000 into Bitcoin, the only on-ramp you have available to you really is a KYC and AML compliant, know your customer, anti-money laundering compliant wallet of some form or another. From there, your money can go wherever it needs to go. And then understand that all they really care about is the taxes that you owe them. So assume that you're going to pay, you're going to pay your capital gains tax on that. And then after that, what are they going to do? They have no way legally, they can subpoena those records, but what are they going to do? What can they do? Nothing.
They can make the centralized exchanges illegal. They can make it illegal for people to hold cryptocurrency.
Yes.
But making something illegal doesn't stop people doing that thing. Notice
exactly. Black markets have existed for all of time. People. Last I checked, people still visit whores.
That's right. Despite the legal prohibition against those activities, Tom.
Last I checked, people still buy drugs.
That's right.
And as a matter of fact, that the more and hookers and drugs are a prime marketplace for cryptocurrency. Like don't kid yourself, for a prime use case. But I mean, just because you can make it legal or make it illegal doesn't mean that it's true. It will retard and slow down the adoption, but it won't stop it. Will it drive it underground? Yes, and I've made this argument as well. The more they drive these things underground, the more they restrict supply. They think they're restricting demand, but they're actually restricting supply. They're actually heightening demand and restricting available supply, because the more they drive it underground, the less people are going to be willing to spend it. The less they're willing to spend it, and the more people know about it, and the higher the price goes, the more they demand it, and then the price just super cycle and spikes. And that's why we see the kind of super cycle spikes every 3 or 4 years in Bitcoin that occur. Okay, and
Tom, there's a couple of things that I want to add.
Sure, absolutely.
There's So on the one hand, you have increasing centralized command economies, and on the other hand, you have a burgeoning free market economy full of ingenuity and creativity, which is out to liberate itself from the constraints of the centralized command economy. So there's going to be more and more developments with regards to decentralization and privacy, and some of which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But I wanted to mention, you said this about the halving. So what that is, with Bitcoin, every 4 years, the number of Bitcoin being born every 10 minutes halves. So it's now currently 6.25 Bitcoin, new Bitcoins every 4 years that are being, every 10 minutes that are being created until 2024. Now, Pirate Chain also has a halving, and currently every minute, the blocks are every minute, 64 Pirate Chain are being created. Any moment now, imminently, there's going to be go down to 32 Pirate Chain coins, R coins being born, and the halvings happen every 270 days.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that does, certainly has happened with Bitcoin, is it elevates the price range in which that asset moves in. It doesn't go down to where it was before. Because
to fill in on that point, there's something called stock to flow ratio, which Dr. Safedine Ammous wrote the book The Bitcoin Standard, which introduced this idea of stock to flow ratio and which is a way to quantify the monetary character of a commodity. Okay, because Ammous is I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, is an Austrian style economist, believes in Mises' regression theorem, just like I do, about how a commodity acquires monetary character. And what he did was to look at the amount of inflation within a commodity versus the above ground stock of it. So in case of gold, has incredibly high stock to flow. There's hundreds of millions of tons of gold sitting in warehouses, but only a couple of thousand being produced every year. Well, Bitcoin has a similar style thing with the halvings, where fewer and fewer, the inflation rate is dropping while the stock of coins continues to rise. And because it's a purely monetary asset, it will never have any other commodity demand to use. Like, it's become completely demonetized, has a very low stock to flow ratio today, because we're now using silver as an industrial metal more than we're using it as a hedge against central bank profligacy, right? So its stock to flow ratio is falling, and therefore it's having a harder time reaching new highs, whereas gold is still rising, and that's fine. And same thing is happening with Bitcoin. So any coin that has an accelerated inflation depreciation schedule, like now Pirate Chain, I didn't even know that about Pirate Chain, so that's very interesting, every 270 days, or a smooth inflation depreciation curve like Decred, right, where every so often it's a very smooth, there's no halving into all the Decred. The inflation rate is just going away by 1%, or getting smaller by 1% every so often. I can't remember how often it is. It's like every 30 days or something like that. It's very, very small. So everybody has a different way of doing that kind of thing. It's very important to understand that that's also part of what's driving price here, stock to flow ratio.
Yes. And then a couple of other points I wanted to make, or mentions. So we're going to have ingenuity and creativity and technology advancing. And one of the projects I mentioned earlier was Sentinel.co, which is a DVPN. I recently did an interview with the foundation behind them, and that is a completely decentralized peer-to-peer VPN, and it's available now for free in testnet.
Wow.
So if people want to go to sentinel.co, they can download the testnet. It works on desktops for sure. I think also on Android. I'm not sure about iOS. And they got a decentralized VPN for free. They're going to launch the mainnet around the turn of the year, which means that's the proper final product. And what that does, if you have the wallet or the node on your computer, and I have a wallet or a node on my computer, I can pay you in any cryptocurrency, and I believe they're going to allow people to buy the VPN using Pirate Chain. So I can get a decentralized VPN service for free, fully private, for free now, but once it's launched, fully private, plus it gives you an access to earning passive income in a currency outside of the central bank digital system. And there's lots like that. I do recommend people go and listen to that interview I did with the team, because it explains how it all works. It blew my mind. So you got no central point of failure or control or regulation, and a way of earning a passive income that's fully private and secure and enhances your own privacy. That's the promise.
And even if you move a non-private coin, you're moving it through a VPN, which is completely private. So you're almost doing like the atomic swaps of IP addresses to anonymize your Bitcoin transactions.
I missed that. Yes, I missed that.
I mean, there's a way of backfilling it and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, start thinking of it in those terms as well. So
yes. Now there's another project that I want to mention.
Sure.
which is also from the Komodo stable that I invite you to go and look at, which is Varus Coin, VERUSCOIN.io, varuscoin.io, fully decentralized, community-based project, fair launch, all of that. It's born out of the Komodo stable, and a lot of the technology that Varus Coin has developed has been exported into the Komodo blockchain.
Oh wow!
By agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that Varus Coin are developing is this works on testnet, and I don't quite understand this because the guy who's the lead developer is a complete genius.
Mm.
You're going to do away with exchanges. You're going to have atomic swap-like transactions on the blockchain.
Yes.
In a way that people can wrap Bitcoin in ETH to run it on the Ethereum blockchain, but then you've got the problem with Ethereum gas fees. With the Varus Coin, you've got really fast transaction times and really low fees for the transactions, but you'll be able to do that with all sorts of cryptocurrencies, and you'll be able to launch your own cryptocurrencies, and it'll all be through a GUI, easy one-click, 2 or 3-click.
Right.
But even I could manage it.
The Komodo, the blockchain deployment tools are ridiculously easy.
Yes.
They're very simple, and they're far better than things like Waves or anything like that because of the way it's designed. And it's better than Ethereum the way it's designed because these are independent chains with their own rules. They're independent chains that all they do is then just think of Komodo as the underlayer, right? Where all these chains exist on top of, just think of Komodo as like middleware. And all these things are apps on top of it, and there's no crossover between Komodo and these daughter chains at all. Other than they actually send audit blocks to each other and audit them. The same way that Komodo sends audit blocks back, by the way, back to the Bitcoin blockchain. All of the chains that are deployed on Komodo also send audit blocks to each other. Okay, so you're literally creating exactly that which I glommed onto the idea of 3 years ago. Said that the best way to safeguard against a 51% attack is to create a neural network of audit blocks across all of these chains. Okay, and therefore everybody is security muling everybody else, and the whole system is impossible to hack because in order to hack the smallest chain, you're going to hack the biggest one at the same time, or the 40 others that he's sending audit blocks to randomly every hour. Like that's what these guys should be doing. And that to me, and if you can do atomic swaps on chain, then you can do exactly what I just said.
Right.
And once I saw the audit block idea from Komodo, I'm like, oh, forget it. This is where security muling is going to take crypto into the future, and it's going to be, and there's nothing the central banks can do to stop this. But I think we're still a few years out from people understanding it and deploying it. But go ahead.
Yes.
So. Okay, so Varus Coin is actually pushing us towards that idea where we're going to be just doing atomics. We're just going to be doing effectively atomic swaps across all blockchains at this point. And
yeah. And there are other interoperability is a big thing in the cryptocurrency space. I don't understand. I mean, there are so many chains and projects. I don't know them all. I focus on the ones that I've got a relationship with. Mm-hmm. Sentinel runs on the Ethereum blockchain currently. The free DVPN, they're moving over onto Tendermint, which runs on the Cosmos blockchain, and Cosmos apparently does really great interoperability that I don't understand and can't get into other than what I've said just now. Right. So
that's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where every once in a while, I mean, I have to do all these other things. It's just a good opportunity to kind of catch up and talk about things that I don't know, and to find out about projects that I just don't have time to research, to be honest with you. So it's good to have had this opportunity to do this. So the important thing, all of this has to be taken into the context of this crazy, insane Great Reset. And one of the things I wanted to impress upon everyone is that they're going to come for all your property. They're in the process of bankrupting the middle class right now here in the United States, certainly in Europe. Like that's what all the lockdowns are for, in order to take all of your capital away from you. If you think that we're going to survive this in any reasonable manner, or the people who are hip to this now, and in order to survive it, you've got to be able to preserve your capital in such a way that they can't find it. Right? The United States survived as World War II as the dominant economy because it wasn't bombed back to the Stone Age. Pearl Harbor was attacked. That was it. We lost, some ships. Europe was atomized. Okay, and so much of the capital of Europe was destroyed. Hundreds of years of capital destroyed. So when we're thinking about this next wave of global communism, we really have to think about it in terms of this is a digital attack on individual privacy and individual sovereignty. All right, and if we're going to survive that, well, we have to start thinking about where can we put our capital so that it doesn't get bombed back to the Stone Age, because that's the real war that we're going to be fighting over the next 10 years. I'm already there. I don't even care if Trump, is installed as president or wins all of his court cases. I'm beyond all that now. I'm now thinking 10 years into the future. That's where I am. I don't know about you, Rich. So, what do you have to say about that?
I completely agree with you. I mean, I just love your political and economic analysis. I've learned so much from you. So much. You wouldn't believe, right? So I can get it what you said. The US didn't have its capital destroyed in the Second World War, so it was still able to function in a way that Europe couldn't. And Japan couldn't because they were attacked.
Yes.
But yeah, we have to preserve our own capital, and I can see the indebtedness. I used to be a social worker, Tom. You know this, right?
Right.
And I'm just there was an article I saw about what was happening in Uganda, and this was at the beginning of the lockdown, and because Uganda locked down as well. And this article was talking about the ridiculous elevation, the ridiculous number of increased calls that their child protection agency had.
Right.
I don't know over what time period. It was something like 20,000 more than they'd expected. And that's just Uganda. And I think about all over the world, domestic abuse, mental health problems, but also low-level anxiety and stress and boredom, and then people being impoverished.
Yes. Rich, I know that you and I don't do this for the money. The money is... We do this because it's the right thing to do. The money is a consequence of doing the right thing. I mean, I'm going to be honest with people when I say this. I don't care about the money. I don't care about getting rich. If I cared about getting rich, I'd have lived a completely different life. What I care about is the truth, and I care about is trying to find ways to mitigate human suffering. And I know that's why we do this, because and that's why so many in this field do it. And I understand even the best of motivations of people like the gold bugs and what I'm now calling the adolescent libertarians and the rest of them, who they're not seeing the bigger picture. They still think they're fighting the good fight, but they're not, because they have to be open, as Lou Rockwell told me all those years ago in his initial response to my first article about Bitcoin, which I'm going to go on record as saying is the first publicly written article for a wide audience about Bitcoin. Okay? Back on July 23rd, 2010. And what Lou said to me after reading the first draft, he said, Tom, the end of this is too definitive. You're telling everybody that this is going to take over the future. Well, I was right, but he said, but we don't know that at this point, right? What we know is that this is a great solution, and that maybe you should, as he said to me in that email, which has stuck with me ever since, let 1,000 flowers bloom. We don't know what solution is out there, but this is certainly a very interesting one, and let's figure out where we are. Let's explore all of them and not turn ourselves off to any of those solutions. And I said, okay, and I went back and I rewrote it, and then he published it. And he said, that's perfect. That's exactly from you. I'm like, okay, and we have to realize this now. We have to be willing to be wrong. And even as right as I was about Bitcoin in 2010, I was wrong about it in 2012 through 2015, which is when the fortune was really made, right? And now it's about doing the right thing. It's about telling people, giving them the tools to defend themselves against frankly, an enemy that is insatiable in its quest for power.
Yes.
So we have to be willing to be open to different solutions and letting 1,000 flowers bloom. And if Bitcoin isn't it, fine. Bitcoin's going to take over 10 years, fine. But between now and then, sorry guys, you should be in Bitcoin. So
I'm like hedge, have them all. Don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm
get other cryptos. Have gold, have silver.
Yep. No, what I'm saying is don't have gold to the exclusion of everything else because you want to be right. I mean, like I said, I think the other night, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich?
Yeah.
Do you want to be right or do you want to have your capital preserved? Because you could steal hundreds of millions of dollars, or not steal, but you could take back from the people who stole from you hundreds of millions of dollars worth of accumulated wealth through the expropriation of your savings through, through interest and taxes and all the rest of it. If you just go out and buy some Bitcoin and let it rise while they fall. Jim Sinclair said a long time ago, back in 2005, and for those of you in the gold industry, you'll know what I'm talking about. He said, the people who are going to make the most money off the gold bull market that we saw coming then are the very people who are suppressing the price of gold today. The bad guys are going to make more money than you ever will. Okay? But that doesn't mean that you're not going to make money. Now, that was the gold bull market because they had control over gold. They missed Bitcoin completely, and they're playing catch up now. So the first $500 billion is gone, and they don't have much of a position. Okay? And supply is drying up, and demand is going up. So, to me, it's a no-brainer as to what's happening next. So, do you have anything to add before we get finished?
I absolutely agree with you. I think decentralization and privacy is the way we got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to preserve our freedom. Without privacy, there is no freedom.
Nope.
Unless I can withdraw myself from the public sphere, I'm not free.
Exactly.
So it's critical for freedom, and then
absolutely
for creativity.
Which, if we listen to the podcast I did with the Uber Boyo a couple of weeks ago, is probably the source of all value, creativity itself. And when human creativity and human ingenuity, and it's born out of the pressures of living in a world of scarcity, and knowing that, and then go look at what these people are talking about, Klaus Schwab and George Soros and all the rest of them, and what they're trying to sell to the normies and the Karens and the mask wearers and all the rest of it. What are they selling to you? Security and pablum. Not creativity, not capital formation.
They're selling bondage to us.
Yes.
Idle bondage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. East Germany with robots.
Yep. And I think it's doomed to fail, Tom.
I do too.
It will fail because it goes against our human spirit and design.
I agree.
We have to have purpose. We have to have connection. We have to have freedom.
Yeah, we do. And they'll fail, but in the process, they kill a lot of people. So, you want to be right or do you want to be alive? It's your choice. Rich, this has been an absolute blast, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. I know your schedule today was busy. Mine is not, because I'm taking the week off for the most part because I need it. So I appreciate you giving me a hand getting through this podcast today, and we'll go from there. So everybody, I will have links to all the stuff that. Excuse me.
Sorry, Tom. So one is always a treat for me to talk to you. I listen to every single one of your podcasts and shows when they come out, and I look forward to having you and the Duran on my channel at some point. I do want to give people a few links.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so one is I'll make sure you got all the links for those projects and stuff, mm-hmm. right? But one thing I want to recommend to people is follow me on BitTube.tv, and they're migrating over to the PeerTube protocol, which is fully decentralized.
Beautiful.
So all their stuff will be on eventually be on a decentralized protocol, so it can't be taken down. Censorship resistant platform. And otherwise, it's just been an absolute pleasure.
As always, man, I appreciate it, and I will be willing to do media after the holidays are over. So, but this is like the last thing I want to do for about another week or so. So, but yeah, so ping me after our holiday is over, and we'll catch up. So, you guys be well. I want to remind everybody that I'll be back next Tuesday with another hopefully interesting podcast, as well as you can follow my work at tomluongo.me. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728, Parler at Tom Luongo, and keep your spirits up. If you're American, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Even if you're not an American, enjoy tomorrow. Okay? Because tomorrow is another day, and that's important. Or as the Book of Mormon says, tomorrow is a latter day, which is hilarious. So you guys be well. You take care, and we'll talk soon. Keep your stick on, guys.
For businesses around the world, today isn't a restart, it's a rethink. That's why they're partnering with IBM. Retailers are keeping their systems up as millions of orders move online. Call centers are using IBM Watson to manage customer questions with AI. And solutions built on the IBM cloud are helping patients receive trusted information. Today we're rethinking how business moves forwards. Let's put smart to work. Visit ibm.com/smart/UK to learn more.